guys, how's it going? Today we are going to be putting together 3 houseplant arrangements. Just some fresh things to put inside the house to kind of help usher in the new year. And I think they're going to all be beautiful. The first one is going to be a centerpiece for our dining room table. I got a hold of this long metal container. I don't even remember when. I think it was down at the garden center. And it did not have drain holes at the time. I did put 3 drain holes in here along the way at some point, because there was one year where I decked this out with succulents. I mean, I packed them in there and it was really pretty. We had it on one of the ledges of our gazebo one summer, and that was really nice. And I've used it several other times, but today we are going to be lining this container so that it is non-draining. And I think we're going to get away with it, especially because of the plants I've chosen to go in here. Most of them are ferns. Look at this gorgeous collection. I am going to possibly put these orchids in there as well. And my plan is just to leave those in their containers. I mean, I just picked these up. They're not looking especially root bound or anything like that. So especially if we're just going to, have this in here for January, February, and we might possibly, once the orchids are done blooming, we'll probably move them out and repot them in other containers. But the other things we've got are a bunch of beautiful ferns. So we've got, this one is, what is this called? A button fern right here. We've got a maidenhair fern right here, a bird nest fern. This one is a blue star fern. We've got a couple of little ferns too to tuck in the edges. And I've also got a few pieces of driftwood. There's one down there that's really cool. I also have a few more ferns kind of sitting here in the wings in case we have space to put those in. And then the other arrangements we are going to do will be in these blue and white containers, which are not actual draining containers. We're going to remedy that today. We're going to drill holes in the bottom because I don't really want to use them like this. In fact, the lid is kind of unnecessary. I just liked the pot. Picked these up down at the garden center, and I thought that they would just make for some beautiful planters to possibly go on the mantle after we clear that off and clean it up from Christmas. And I picked up some gorgeous white orchids for those containers. It's gonna look so fresh, I think, and bright. Look at these. So there's one right here, and I popped one right up there. Oh, they're just so pretty. And I do have some of the orchid mix to use in these containers when we repot, because I think I will take those out of their original containers because I might want them to just live in here for a while. I also picked this up. I'm not going to pot it up today, but isn't that the sweetest thing? Oh, just a little miniature rose plant. I couldn't resist it. So anyway, I think the kids are going to come out here. They're going to be playing around, and we're just going to spend some time enjoying the weather. I mean, it's gorgeous today. It's been sunny still. It's been so warm that we don't need a coat. It's in the mid to high 40s. I think the high is supposed to be like 48. I don't think I have my phone with me, but anyway, it's supposed to be pretty warm. And when the wind isn't blowing and it's still, it's especially nice, which makes it even better in here. Also, I forgot to show you, I have got 2 garbage bags that I'm going to have to cut down the long sides so that they will fit the length of this. And I'm gonna double up on that. And I might even put some putty because there's some real sharp, jagged edges down in here. I'm gonna go grab some putty and put that over the top of those so that it doesn't rip through our sack. And then I'll be using this potting mix for the ferns. And when we get this into the dining table, I've got some really low profile, just like coasters, that I think I will pop underneath this container just to raise it up off the table in case any condensation forms, or if there's any leak or anything like that, I'll be able to tell so it doesn't ruin our table. I waited a long time to buy our dining room table, so I'm pretty particular about coasters and protecting it as best we can. Anyway, guys, I think what we're gonna do is just set up cameras and try to capture this process as best as we can. I'll stop when we're done with the fern container. I think we'll tackle that one first, and we'll just kind of tour through how everything landed, how it ended up. And then I'll go a little bit slower when I drill the holes in those containers just so you can see, and I'm hopeful that it doesn't crack the containers. I've never had that happen, but it's not saying that it couldn't, and they do not have any more that match these down at Garden Center. So I've got basically one try to get each one of them. All right, so here we go. All right, guys, 9 ferns and 3 orchids, and I think it's really pretty. I just love it. Now, the thing about centerpieces that I used to do that I try not to do now is make them too tall. I used to love like the huge, opulent looking arrangements, but then you can't see anybody around the table. And the whole goal of, having dinner around the table is being able to chat with everybody. So I feel like this is going to be low enough to where we're going to be able to see, but it's going to be fresh and gorgeous. Now, the really nice thing about this too is that we don't need super bright direct light for any of these plants. The dining table where we are going to be putting this is pretty bright. It's got south-facing windows, but they are under an overhang outside. So a lot of light kind of pours in, but it's not going to be directly on it. So these plants should do really well, as well as like the non-draining container part. The ferns will love that. I think it will actually provide extra moisture around the plants. I will have to still be careful when I'm watering it, not to overdo it, but I think that'll be pretty easy. Isn't this fun? Adding in a piece of wood like this or a rock or something adds a little weight and it adds some breathing space to me instead of having like this massive jumble of just plants, which I like that too, but I think adding that kind of helps ground the whole arrangement. So we've got a little piece coming out on this side as well. And then maybe we can switch spots, Erin, so you guys can see the back. It has to look pretty from all sides, and I think it does. Just kidding, I'm gonna flip it instead. Oh! So it looks pretty on both sides. You can see the orchids, you can see the ferns, you can see where I've tucked in some smaller ones right here along the edge, and then all the moss as well. I did use the little lip of the garbage sack liner and kind of tucked it over the edge of the soil to hopefully keep everything as contained as possible. You can see like the orchid foliage coming out right there. And I was able to separate our blue star fern. So here's the original right here in that 6-inch container. And I noticed that it looked like one whole plant was kind of coming out one side of it, and it tore apart really easily. So I was able to bring some of that interest over to this side as well, which having a fern that has a little blue tint to it mixed in with all of the lush green color, I think is really fun. Okay, we're gonna flip it back this way because I actually like, I mean, it's not supposed to have a front, but I feel like this part makes it kind of the front for some reason. I don't know. All right, so now we're gonna move on to our next arrangements, which will include our drilling of drainage holes. I'm a little nervous. I don't know why I'm nervous this time. I guess because I know there's no backup containers in the wings. I have to get it right, which means we are gonna use the diamond tile drill bit. I've got it right over here. This is what it looks like right here. And that cuts through like the ceramic that we're going through today. It does a good job on a lot of things. Concrete. The last thing I did drainage holes in, I think, were the head planters, and those were kind of like, I think maybe they were ceramic. And then I also used this to make the drain holes in our bird bath succulent planter that's still doing really well. The biggest thing to remember is to keep cold water going on it, because I think the reason why it cracks the most is if it gets too hot. So I'm going to get something soft to put on the ground. We're going to lay it upside down. I'll have my hose nearby, and then we're just going to attempt this. All right, so I'm just going to add a little bit of water to the top just to get it started. And then when we go in, you want to kind of go in at an angle and create a notch with your bit before like going straight like this, because a lot of times when you go straight down, it wants to jump around a little bit, and you want to create a little bit of a notch so that your bit has something to rest in, if that makes sense. Oh, also, don't push down really hard. That is another reason why it could break, because once it actually makes it through the ceramic, it'll happen really fast, and you don't want to be putting a lot of pressure on it because the whole drill will just boom down on your container, and that can cause it to break. Here we go. Oh, for crying out loud. Made my notch though. Didn't realize, I thought I had it tight. There. I don't know if you can see that right there. So far, so good. I don't know how thick this thing is. We gotta be getting close. Oh, did it. Woo! No breakage. You can go, hello. One pot down, one to go. Here's the little piece that came out. All right, here we go.
Now it's really come together there. Look
Yeah.
at that.
Yep. Getting really close.
Yeah, super close. Okay. Go, go, go.
Oh, number 2. Success. Look at that. See?
Nice. Mama, what just happened?
Yeah, that's the little thing that came out from it. So now I get to pot them. I got to pot them all up with some pretty plants. Okay, now that we have our drain holes in our containers, which I'm thrilled about, I'm thrilled that worked out, we can pot up our orchids. I picked these up at the grocery store. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I was so thrilled to find orchids looking this wonderful at the grocery store. And they both are planted with one other houseplant that I'm just going to leave in there. This is a spider plant. The other one has a croton, but they both have really healthy looking leaves, beautiful bloom stalks. We are going to be using our orchid mix, which is a mixture of a fir bark, horticultural charcoal, and perlite. So it's a really nice chunky light blend that the orchid roots prefer. And let's see if I can get the bag open. There we go. So it looks sort of like this right here. You can see all the things in there. So I'm just going to add a bunch in. And we're going to take our orchid out. Oh, well, isn't that handy? Now I don't have to use this if I don't want to. So it looked like it was planted or rested in this container along with a bunch of bark. Okay, so we are going to release this orchid from its container. Look at those roots. Now, I am not an orchid expert, that's for sure, and I'm not sure if I should do a lot of root roughage here or not. Maybe just like the tiniest bit, just on the bottom. I am not very well versed in orchids just because we live in such a dry climate that it's usually a bit of a struggle to get them to do well here. But I figure, you know, I could put these inside. If they start to look like they are needing something, I can always pop them out here. I'm wanting to kind of create more of a pretty backdrop in here, and it stays much more humid and I think warm enough for them to live in here. Gosh, that is so pretty. And I don't think I actually want to have the other houseplant in there, not unless they matched. I think that would be good, but we can use this somewhere else. Okay, so we've got our orchid rested down in there. I'm just going to work on getting it all filled in around the roots here. This is going to take me a minute. Ideally, I wouldn't have ripped a huge hole in the front of the bag. Okay, another bag. Okay, I think I'm going to tuck some moss in around the base just a little bit. There's something so striking and so fresh about just a single orchid, especially a white one, in a container. Oh my goodness. Isn't that pretty? So let's do the second one. This one had one bent leaf. I'm going to leave it on there because it's still nice and green. But yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh, so pretty. Okay. In with the next one. container number 2. Aren't these gorgeous? I just love them. There's just something so striking, and I think it's maybe just the simplicity and the pureness of the colors. And you've got the bright blue and white right here, and then you've got the medium green, and then the pure white of the blooms up here, and we've got several blooms yet to open, so I think we're going to have a long season out of these. But even when they're done and we clip the bloom stalks back, I'm hopeful that the plant itself likes this container and the leaves just continue to grow. I think that's going to be a pretty look. Now we will show you where the fern arrangement is just sitting right back there at the moment, but we will take that inside to the dining table so you can see how that looks. These, I don't quite have all of our Christmas decor down. I mean, we're just right after Christmas at this point, and I need to clear off the mantle, which is kind of where I thought these might go. We might try them and see if we like them up there. It is a pretty dry location, so I'm kind of thinking, oh, maybe we'll put these on either side of the sink in the kitchen. I think that would be pretty too. That's probably where they will start, and then we'll shift things, move things around if we want to. But anyway, that is it for this video. Just so nice to be out here in the beautiful weather and potting up some fresh things for the house. So it's a great way to start the new year. So I hope you guys are having a great one, and we will see you in the next video. Bye.